What up, homosexual? What's going on? It's Coach Lorena. And if you've ever been scared to start working out because you think you're gonna need modifications and you don't wanna be that guy asking for modifications or slowing the workouts down, this video is for you. Or you have an injury, or you're working with chronic illness, or fucking ADHD brain ticks off, whatever the case is, most everybody needs modifications. And I know that even with that being true, asking for a modification can feel a little vulnerable, a little scary, like you don't want to slow the class down, you don't want to like be that guy, but like it's okay to be that guy. And I want to drive that point home because making my gym really comfortable where people feel safe to ask for modification that their body needs is like very important to me. So we do a couple of things at the QueerGym, but one of the things that we do is once a month when we change up the workouts, we have a special class called ModBots. And that's essentially where our coaches break down all the movements you're gonna see throughout the workouts and offer modifications, walk through them, talk through them so that everybody feels comfortable and had enough time to kind of process what this new workout is gonna look like for them. So I wanna give you a little sneak peek, so go ahead and check it out. And if you need modifications and you're tired of feeling weird asking for them, then you might wanna check us out. All right, here's ModBots.
What we're gonna do is make sure to go even through the warm-up piece by piece. You're gonna hear me say things repetitively. I am gonna expect you to try these movements out for yourself though. If we hit any moments that you're like, oh, for my body, I would actually still like one additional modification to set myself up for success for the next month. This is that great time. This is that bonus of showing up to class as opposed to just getting a recorded version that's pretty basic, okay? So do know that is our goals for today. If you have any super specific mods that you'd like to have me be aware of, go ahead and put them in the chat to me. Just DM that on over. That way I can keep that in mind when thinking about the mods. Sorry, my app was trying to play games with me. So going through our warm-ups, I'm gonna keep myself in this small little box. That way I can also look up and see anyone in the space. If you want me to be bigger, pin me so that I'm bigger on your screen, but I would like to be able to see everyone while we go through this. So before I ramble on and I'm different places and in a push-up and trying to say this, my most important things if you were part of ModBods last month is remembering depth is your own discovery. Okay, depth does not mean you have to be as flexible as I am, you have to go as low as I do, but the intention is there to still encourage your activation of your muscles. So simple statement, a squat. Everyone's squat's gonna be their own place of how low that body goes. The most important thing is that our chest isn't going lower just to tell ourselves we're going lower. I'm keeping in alignment and I'm being honest with my depth. Oh, hopefully this light focus does not do that to me all the time, okay? So that's gonna be the key thing that I'll probably bring up several times for you to discover for yourself. As a coach, we want you to go on your max, but that is that place that every body is gonna be so individualized for how flexible and what shape they're gonna be. So keeping that in mind. Now, talking about our warm-up, our first one is our alternating cross squats. This is something that in full longevity, we have a nice wide stance. Our toes are out to the side. We bend over to one side, leaving that leg over. Standing completely on up. You can also aim to go all the way down to the floor and come all the way up. Full dynamics. Now, what I would give for suggestions is that same statement, depth. You can still get all your activation. I can still get a bend. I'm actively sitting up top, okay? From here, I would like you to, if that doesn't work, hopefully it works. Okay, you can still see me. Using a surface, so some type of couch or thing behind you, so that your butt actually taps on the surface. Just like any squat we would do, give yourself something to find an even base in between. Okay, so finding your depth, hopefully your couch or your surface is not something that's super low, but that is that variable to think of. Making sure your feet are planted, we're in a sumo squat, and then assuring that we're shifting side to side. Okay, these are our goals. Oh my gosh, that light focus. Come on, camera. There we go. Hold on, let's see if we can make this light work with me today. Okay. Sometimes sunshine just really does it to me. Basically, you're correct. Making sure feet are out, sumo squat, but then side lunges. Now, instead of feeling like we're having a pulse to one side, the goal is the fluidity from right to left. So literally the action of being able to come to the center, shift to the other side is the goal. Now your depth of how low you go in between them is your own game. Okay, each day might feel different. Moving on, make triple check the chat. That way I know I'm not moving on too fast for anyone. Okay, yeah. Totally feel that. Okay. So moving on to our next movement, come find your mat. Full motion. We're in a plank. We push back in our hands and we find ourselves looking down at our feet and we return. First reaction, just like any plank, put yourself on your knees, push back in a high child's pose. So instead of dropping your booty back, keep your butt engaged, still feel that reach in the back, return to your plank. Okay, so everyone go and try that one, finding on our knees. Option to get off of our rest and in this lean forward position is to find ourselves on our back. Similar concept. We're going to be able to squeeze into a child's pose. Similar action. Instead of doing the child pose energy, of course, that can be an option. I would encourage you to get the longevity like we're in a plank. We start with our feet in a plank where they extend away from us. Right now I'm elevated. Now I'm trying to grab my toes and I'm getting a hamstring stretch. Let the legs fall away from you, engaging, bring the legs into a stretch because you'll feel that hamstring, which is part of the goal for our downward dog, is for you to be stretching the hamstrings. So you have some abdominal activation, some flexion of getting into that stretch. So two options, either being on our knees or on our back to be able to get that same warm up of our core. Arms are still moving by extending the limbs away from each other, getting a stretch by trying to touch your own toes on your back. Okay, few different options. Now, staying on our back, because the next thing is a scissor. This one's something that's not quite a mod. It's more so how you go into. Wait, Nick, it's saying you're trying to come in another space. You good?
Yeah, I am. I'm switching from phone.
Okay. Got you. So, scissors. Basic movement. We are lifted in our head or placing our arms down low. Our legs are hovering over the ground and our legs get to move. This is the goal. Our abdominal wall is trying to be pressed against the floor, active legs the whole time. Things for mods and to adjust for yourself. One, you can bring it up higher. Okay, avoid letting these super high because you're not going to get as much lower abdominal wall that we need, but you get to play with how low it goes. Obviously, as coaches, we want you to be done here. If you need to have 5 seconds up here, totally cool. Then go back down, try again. Other variables, besides putting hands on the floor, pressing over our head, or slightly tucked underneath our booty, is to go one leg at a time. So really let one hover and barely tap the floor, switch other side. Switch other side. Tapping the floor just lightly to give you 1/2 as a break, and then 5 seconds with them both hovering off. Okay, so understanding we want you to get through all 3 rounds. Most important thing is getting your back engaged and onto the floor, legs hovering in some way.
Is there like an option where like your legs can be more bent? Because for me, like hip hypermobility like happens a lot when they're like stretched out like that. Is there something that's like closer in, I guess?
I think that would be starting with having it be higher. So,
Okay.
and if you totally have been, avoid having it feel like a bicycle because that's not quite getting the muscles that we're trying to activate. But you can bend your knees. I would definitely encourage, if it feels okay on your wrists, to have them just slightly tucked underneath your bottom. But I definitely would encourage if you need to have a knee bent and then keep them up here, but having full motion is the goal. Okay, having the entire thing instead of just little tip taps where all of a sudden it's just in your knees, or that it's like this pumping action. We're trying to have a full dynamics. But yes, bending your legs is totally awesome, especially if the back of your knee is starting to like freak the heck out, you know, and it's like shaking. You're like, I can't even focus on this thing. Bend your knee just slightly, and it'll hopefully stop the additional vibration, which our bodies just do. So it's also normal for us to vibrate. If you didn't know, we're constantly vibrating. Now, moving on, instead of me getting nerdy about muscle activation, push-ups. Obviously, QueerGym, I'm going to move past this really quickly. We're also going to bring this up a few times in our workouts. Push-ups are a thing for QueerGym, obviously putting us on our knees, great option. We also do our face plants, where you bring yourself all the way down, lay yourself on your belly, come up however you need to. Things that I'm going to express in this moment since I have time. Dropping onto your hands is not what our goal is, okay? So if you're face planting, you feel like you're just falling right onto your hands, adjust instead of being on your toes to being on your knees to decrease that pattern, but then you still get the full activation. This is where we go for a little bit of a walk real fast. 1 second, you all. I need to go over there. So good, I love when I share stages. So I have to bring you to my wall. Wall push-ups. I'm gonna express this now, but the statement also transcends to bisexual, because that is a lot of push-ups in our workout. When doing wall push-ups, need less space for you to see my feet. Most important things, don't wear socks. Okay, you can fall, and it's a real thing. Safety when you're not right next to us. Feet need to be planted. Arms are literally at your shoulder distance and alignment. Notice that they're way up high. Super low is also a thing that can get us into a different variable. Now, wall push-ups is the goal to be able to have still a straight back, degrees besides just being like on the wall. Notice how my butt's going all the way out here. This is not what we want for our butt wall push-ups. Still engage the abdominal wall. Bring yourself in that tract alignment. Again, full muscle activation is our goal. So if you want to do several on the wall for first few times, I'd rather see that than half pumps inside your shoulder. Everyone can even see me half pump on the wall. Okay. Adding it to be a little harder, go up to your toes so that you decrease your amount of stability on your feet. Okay, you're like, nah, it's so easy. Add the fin. Forward thought. I'm just gonna skip scenes as in switch to the next thing because it's bisexual. What we do for this, we're gonna have 3 different arm positions for our bisexual push-ups. I would encourage you, if you're somewhere between having a full motion or you feel like you're just face planting and haven't gotten the up yet, do a few rounds when on the wall, because what we want you to have is a full muscle activation coming all the way down into that place and being able to push away. Okay, so checking in with the wall. I'm not going to do the different formations of our arms right this second. But I'm going to also bring up the reality of my last champ. I totally jumped to walls, is bring yourself up on the surface. Usually where I have a hard time with saying that instead of a wall is one, it decreases or it changes what your wrist is being connected to. So if it's squishy, if it's hard, if it has like a really hard surface or corner, that can shift your wrist in a very dynamic way. That if you just go on a wall, you know the wall is not going to change the shape of your wrist. You can explore that dynamic. But if you want to have a slight hinge over, get yourself up on an object instead of being on the floor, okay? Before I fully move on, let me check this chat, see you all. Perfect. I also suggest, so a lot of humans, I also have very small, beautiful wrists, I will say to them, because of the way that my body has been developed. What I would suggest, anyone that feels like they have wrist dynamics, use the wall, because then you still get all of this movement and a fraction of that pressure that tends to hurt. So you can still work all these muscles that tend to get really weak if we just don't use them. Okay, so use the wall before shifting to a weight. But other great option is to hold a weight, hold a can of soup, something in your hand, and give yourself that same action. Either from laying on the floor, we have those different actions. So again, moving to bisexual, we'll have multiple spaces. Being on our back and getting a push in this way is efficient, but it definitely changes what happens in your shoulders. Okay, it will still give you wrist strength. It will get some of the motion, but your shoulders will be relaxed and on the floor. So weights is always a great option to have those different positions instead of being on the floor. Oh, I love push-up bars. Get it. Coach Taylor giving links in the chat. Kim, I saw your hand raised. Let me pause for you.
Yeah, no weight on my shoulders.
Definitely a thing. So with that, still knowing we're trying to build that muscle, that's where when we were together, we did static holds. So instead of putting weight on it, either holding yourself up in that position, holding it on the wall, that way you're getting them in that position without moving them or having any amount of friction or force weight on top of it, can be that option, right? Because we're PTing, we want it to come back, but we definitely don't want to add additional torque coming.
I'm only doing like against the wall, like pushing, like isometric, and then on my side and like doing this. That's all I'm doing for strengthening. No weight on my arms or shoulders yet.
Yeah, totally makes sense to me. So that's then when you get to have that conversation. We really dove into push-ups for multiple reasons because we're going to do it in multiple ways. Reeling it into that way, I know they're really consistent. Options would be having us on our knees, having yourself on the surface. To get full activation, using a wall is an option. Last one would be to hold objects or just hold space. Literally just holding your arms up in some way. Your own body mass will do some of that work. Okay. Doing it maybe in one arm for yourself if you're like, oh, that other arm has already worked enough today. Those are the things that we definitely want you all to feel successful in making that decision. And a coach can check in with you if you feel like there's something and that needs to be adjusted. Okay, but the main goal for this is that you can feel, I now know I have other options that are aligned with what we're doing, but I know I'm not gonna hurt myself because you have a specific plan. Okay. Yes. Also great option if you all saw in the chat, Coach Taylor's providing the reality of having other objects to change the shape and positioning of your wrist. These are really big variables when it comes to doing push-ups. Okay. Next thing for bisexuals is a tricep extension. I'm going to move through this one really quickly because it's not as in-depth. We do so many push-ups, so I took a long time with that one. Tricep extension, full experience. We come all the way down, we come all the way up. Okay, using some type of weight, using 2 weights. Same thing as I said at the beginning, your depth is your discovery. So understanding, one, how much weight, are you holding weight or not at all? Exploring whatever bend is for you and return. Okay, so our goal is not for you to tap your own elbow or your own back. Our goal is for you to have an activation of moving down and up. Other great option is to use a fabric or a towel. So that way you can still have something to hold resistance and get that motion if you'd like to not hold a weight. Okay, it's definitely an option. Feeling good, okay. From their lateral raise, I'm gonna stay on my knees for this one. We're in a nice wide stance. Arms come over to the side and then return back down. If you come to my workouts, one of my most important things is not going past your shoulder blades, so popping over your head. We're trying to stop at our 90, so that way we're not overdoing those shoulders. Things to check in with you. Obviously, having weights, great options. Not holding weights, also a brilliant option. You can do all of the same work without a weight. What I would encourage, if you'd like more, is to think of resistance. in my workouts, I've talked about literally imagining them there and pushing and holding your arm in resistance. You can quite literally flex your muscles and make it more difficult to raise your arms. So instead of just flapping them up and down like a bird, which is okay, we would like you, if you don't have weights, is to add additional resistance. And you'll get all of that muscle activation in that arm as well, even if we're not there. Same concept of depth, right? Any lift, you're getting into that place. Also, if you're feeling tightness in the elbow, giving a slight bend. Okay, so that's sometimes what I hear by the end, that my elbow's just feeling real intense, and either we have hyperextension in one of them, but aim to not fully bend, and quite meaning micro bends. You can barely see it, but it will give a break on that joint. So, let's hop it up again. All right, moving on. Hammer curls and front raises, exactly the same statements. I'm just going to show them super briefly. Again, we have my leg focus. We have our weights in our hands. Wrists are down and open. We come all the way up and all the way down is that goal. Now you tell us on, maybe you start with a micro bend. You decrease this full activation. You get to play with your depth of how high and how low it goes. Maybe you stop at 90-degree angles, because sometimes my elbows, this part is that overworks them. So keeping them slightly bent the entire time keeps those muscles active and doesn't allow them to overextend. Okay, so remember to have that. Again, you can decrease not holding anything. You can add resistance. You can hold onto a towel or scarf to be able to have something within your hands, all within the same energy and same statement with our lateral raise. Instead of going off to the side, that just means in the front. So again, checking in, how high I need to go. This is one we aim to have full arm motion. So again, checking in, are we stopping here? Are we coming all the way up here where we would go? Other statement, if you need a small bend in the elbows. I know a handful of us have hyperextension in our elbows. So remembering they can pop out and then you're working a full different experience. Small bend, that way we can really keep everything safe in that full motion. Okay. And I literally have one elbow that's hyperextended. It's the most hilarious thing. Sometimes when I'm like, oh, right, that one side, I have to remember. Okay. Feeling good so far. Yeah. Okay. A lot of these things are just continually reiterating. That way we're feeling set. I'm going to start decreasing how many times I say things, since I've now done it for a whole time. Next one, moving on to booty. Now, Russian deadlifts, I'm going to show you just real fast, but exactly the same things that I've expressed. Getting yourself into that position, shifting down and returning up. Our goals, legs are staying solid. We're hinging at the hips, keeping our back engaged, so that way we can have this movement. Even if we stop here, you will still engage your back. Your glutes will still be in place, and you do not have to come all the way down here. Obviously, we'd like you to explore and see what your depth is, but it is a variable that every single muscle will still activate during that motion. There isn't much for mod for that, but decreasing weight and exploring your depth. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the glutes, because the other half is a glute bridge to this workout. Full action, we have our feet planted, making sure they're in alignment with our feet. We lift the hips as high as we possibly can on our shoulders, and we return back down. Full motion. Now, same game, you can play with how high they go, but that doesn't mean we're just decreasing and making tiny motions. I still want you to feel full muscle activation. My feet are planted, my hips are lifted, my glutes are firing up, and my abdominal wall is engaged. All those things can happen without you having to pop yourself all the way up onto your neck, and this might become uncomfortable after so many, depending on what your shoulder and neck experience is. So playing with your depth is key for that one. If motion is too much, my other mod for this is static hold. Okay, so bring yourself up, hold for 10 seconds. come back down, try again. Having stillness is sometimes more beneficial than constant pumping, depending on how your spine works. But the goal is you still are warming up every single muscle in that place. Okay, from here, let me see if I want to, no, everything's standing. Okay, the next few are standing, so I do have to make you all get up. That time, here we go. Make sure, check my shots, feeling good. Okay, next one is a skater. So what this is, full motion, we have a wide step, the leg comes over to the side, and we're running. Okay. The goal for this is to take a large step to the side, right? That is what we're trying to do. Obviously, if you're doing it into a jump, also great. But what I would encourage you is to slow the motion down instead of making it hop. Make it the widest step you can. Try to balance on one leg. Widest step you can, balance on one leg. Widest step, balance. If balancing isn't your game, but you're like, oh, I got these wide steps, put your foot down. Still try to get it off to the side so we're still challenging. But just put that foot down. Tap it. That way your equilibrium says, I have a second, I can regain my balance. Once you get your balance, add that tempo, try to go faster. Okay. Moving on from that one, next one is a suitcase squat. So my first one usually is obviously the same depth, but I always encourage you to find a target. So bring yourself to where your booty literally lands on your couch, your chair, come all the way up. Land yourself on the chair. That way, if you are feeling a little misbalanced or you're trying to challenge yourself to get lower, your couch or surface will be there just in case. Other option for suitcase squats, if your knees are really not gaming, would be a wall sit. Okay, this isn't preferred because we want to get some full motion, but if we're needing to get the movement within that time frame, having a wall sit, again, activates those knee muscles for this full action, activates the goal for a suitcase squat, keeping your chest up instead of allowing it to go forward. So leaning against the wall, pushing your back against, holding yourself. If you can slide on the wall, that'd be cool, depending on your surface. Okay, but again, suitcase squat, keeping our chest up, attempting to practice depth. Feeling and making sense. A lot of repetition, per usual. I'm not always do it. Reverse lunges. This is one of those things. Most of my mod is having you hold on to the surface. So full activation, holding on to nothing. We're stepping down, taking a bend, all one motion. Super fluid, where goal is to have you go straight into the bend. Other options, syncopated. Give me a foot back, get yourself equally distanced between both feet, give me a bend. Or two, step together. Find that foot, get balance, give me a few bends, step together. If we don't want to hold a surface, but I would encourage surface is always a great option so you can work on the fluidity. If going between 2 feet is a thing that day, my last acknowledgement is getting your foot far away from you, coming back together, trying to get it way behind you and coming back together. Challenging that standing leg, seeing if you can tap your foot all the way if that double bend isn't happening. Okay, so again, for that one, either you can have static hold in that place to be building those knee muscles, holding a surface, or going into a foot tap behind. Okay, see a lot of notes, love that. That one making sense. That one's kind of my most important one in my opinion, with the fact that our knees, in theory, shouldn't be wobbling side to side. So for real, take the time, take the balance, find yourself, if you just need to stand between 2 feet for a second. I, at least as a coach, would rather have you take the extra moment than me seeing you wobble dance, which I love doing, but not when we're working out. Okay. Yeah, I knew I was gonna get one of you to do it. Get it, Chloe. Get it, Euhenia. Right. I was like, I'm gonna get one of them wobble. I felt it. Okay. We gotta have fun with this as well. Now, moving on. The last one for this workout is a build your burpee, is what we called it. So all this is sumo squat, push up, and a jump squat. Things that I'm gonna notate, we've already talked about squats. I'm gonna kind of breeze past that. Acknowledging feet are out. What is your depth? If you're feeling like you rather have a static hold, feel that burn, opposed to a constant motion, always great. The things that I really want to also check in is that we're not popping into a knee bent straight as well. Sumo bend, there is a movement here. Check if you feel like your legs are popping there. If anything, stop before that. The real thing that I want to talk through, you can't see my feet. I did that, such a dancer thing to pull my feet up. Jump squats, full motion. We have a bend where we're starting, jump back to a bend. Trainer goal is a bent leg to a bent leg. Okay, if we're going for a jump, if we're going up to our toes would be my mod. Going up to our toes instead of a jump, so you're lifting your feet. This is obviously something you can do holding a surface. That way you can really be getting the work in without having to challenge yourself to standing on 2 feet. Okay. If you didn't go, I'm gonna say it one more time so I have the time. Bend to straight, or bend to bend. So quite literally, don't let us see you jump and then bend. Straight to a bend is what we're trying to go for you. Okay. Most important thing in my opinion. Push-ups we've already talked about. I'm not gonna take the time. Setting yourself up for a surface, for a wall, you tell me. How are we feeling? Give me some thumbs. Making sense. A lot of similar things for those that have familiar faces. Love it. Getting some notes. I really love how many people are writing notes down. It's so cool to learn about you. So, hardcore homo. What we're gonna do is a high to low plank for this one. My suggestion would be again to go to the wall so that you can practice what it feels like for your wrist to regain connection. Going from your forearm up to your wrist would be my suggestion. Full action is here. Obviously going onto our knees, other great option. I usually would not suggest going on a surface. For that one, I would go straight to a wall and give yourself that diagonal energy, because just coming from this position, learning how to activate that muscle to get yourself up. Trust me, I did it the other day. You will still feel it if you're doing it on the wall, okay? And then challenge yourself to get it back on the floor. Other option is totally to hold weights, right? We can have static hold of our weight. We can bend, we can extend, we can extend. Okay, so you can
show
come
that on the wall real quick.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. So again, I'm setting myself up. First, making sure that I'm in that placement, taking that step back. So now I'm like in my hands. From here, I'll bend my elbow, straighten it, push off. Now, thing that I actually love that you asked me to do this, really try not to do that, leaving your butt behind you. It's super common, especially when you get closer to something, to protect. This is literally protection. Your body's gonna be like, I'm gonna protect myself, keep my butt back so I don't fall. We're trying to work out here. Engage your abdominal wall, make sure you're still in that plank position. Full body moves, okay? But you just go straight into that place. Push, push.
Thank you.
Oh, of course. But I love wall stuff. Honestly, walls are so helpful in the place of like figuring out how to make sure your muscles doing the movement. Then you progress because your muscles know what to do, right? Part of it is teaching them how to do that, depending on what your fitness journey has been so far, in different variables. Okay, so next one is, you know, every time Coach Taylor and levitator just runs out of my brain, I'm like, what is it? I'm not levitating. I'm not jumping off of anything.
No, I don't. I'm not convinced that it's a real word. That's a Coach Lorena word. Do you want me to show this one?
So good. Sure. You ready?
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if it's levitators or levators or maybe elevators.
The
Could be lost in translation. Again, not convinced that it's a real word. Basically, the
forward.
idea is that we're doing a similar to a hip bridge, but with our legs more extended, that's going to put more of the load on our hamstrings instead of the
Ah,
glutes. So setting yourself
every
up on the
time I
back
think of
side,
dip.
yeah, the legs can't be all the way out straight because you need to be able to ground into the heels a little bit. But we can start with an active core, a little bit of a bend in the knees, sending the hips up high, and you'll immediately feel that down the back of the legs and the hamstrings. You can start from a more traditional hip bridge position, which would be heels pulled in, feet stacked underneath the knees. You can see how much higher I'm able to get and how much more glute work I'm getting. So that would be like point A to start. And as you get more comfortable there, you can start to step out the feet and see how it feels to have the hamstrings take kind of like the workload.
Nice, thank you. Every time
Mm-hmm.
I think of a tricep dip where I'm dipping to the side, because people also call that levitators, and then my brain is like, I don't know what anything is.
Not a real word.
But if you
For
all
sure, not a real word.
not a real one, yeah, it's a real one of this moment. Thank you, Coach Taylor. So
You're
acknowledging
welcome.
what she shared is explaining where our legs could be in that place. The goal is being in the bridge. The goal as well is having your foot flexing on your heel. So if you are having yourself start with your knees a little closer, challenge yourself to flex your feet and balance on your heel even with your legs closer to your body, because that is as well, you literally can't put your toes down when they're farther out. So part of the goal as well is having yourself on your feet. Repeating the statement, holding instead of pumping can be a moment in time if that's something that you want to explore. Okay. Next one would be a knee march. This is really a high knees motion, making sure knees coming up to the body for just a millisecond before we do our hollow rocks. Goals coming all the way up.
So that one is done in a hip bridge position. I don't know if you're showing the modification right now, but it's in a glute bridge, marching the feet. So all of this should be on the floor, unless people want a floor-free mod.
Amazing. Nice, exactly. So I was showing that in the energy. We would be here marching up in this place. Keeping the hips engaged here, I would say your mod definitely would be doing a marching as I was just showing you standing, that way you're getting the full hip motion. You do decrease the glute work. For mod, if we're staying in your shoulders, so like we can be on our back, exploring having, my movement's usually a suggestion of, instead of constant motion of both of them, explore one leg twice. So you're really gravitating on one leg, then you get the other leg twice. So slowing down the constant shift from right to left is usually a mod that I would suggest. Really checking in again with your feet being placed, having depth. You don't quite feel the experience if you are laying all the way down on your back. So having some lift is necessary in this place. The next one is the hollow rock, which I know I should say laying down. From here, hollow rock is an action, full motion, where we're having legs come up, body come up, and we aim to have this dynamic motion occur on our spine. And now, other great option is to lift your butt, lift your back, lift your butt, lift your back. As you explore that experience for your spine, you then get to have and explore extending the legs and having it be a rocking motion. Okay, but if we're working on pieces, I would even encourage the opposition. Avoid letting our butts come all the way up and over this way. The goal is for it to go up into the ceiling. Okay, even if we need to take our arms and dig ourselves down. Other option that decreases any motion on our spine, because I know some humans having any bout of a rock or lift is not a thing. Static holds. You'll get so much core work if you just lower and hold your legs for a second. Then put them down, lift your shoulders up and off the floor, hover, 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 come back down. Lift and hold as long as you can. Lift and hold as long as you can. You will still get the same action instead of a pulse on the spine. Okay, so having half of those things happen would be my suggestion if having the dynamics on our spine is not working for that day. Either lifting half, other half, static hold half, static hold the other half. Okay. Great on time. See, my next ones are a lot of core as well. This one's a super people on our back. Make sure I got two in my head. I have notes if you guys haven't guessed, also so I can keep them all straight-ish in my head. Super people, we're in a supine position, so we're laying on our belly, feet are flat, arms are flat. The goal is to lift everything up to balance on our belly at the same time and return back down. Options for this is half and half. So I would encourage you to focus on just the upper body and then the lower body, and then repeat. What this does is it decreases the double bend that happens in our spine. It also still gives you half of that motion in that place. Exploring your depth is also the key. Obviously, I'm going to show you coming all the way up. Any amount of lift and hovering on the floor, lift and hovering off the floor, you're engaging every single one of those muscles without having them try to go super high. If you need to not be on our stomach for that one, getting into our back is a little bit trickier for that, but it is a thing on occasion. Reversing the action, similar to the hollow rock, but instead of allowing yourself to shift here, you're going to allow yourself to stay in this long position and aim to lift and hover off and return up. That one is a trickier one. I also sometimes suggest you coming up on a surface is really the one to explore, giving your back just a little bit more space, but still engaging. So if it's okay to at least have yourself shifted, if you have an ottoman, if you have a bench, now you have more space to start, and you'll get the activation opposed to getting all the way into a lift, but you'll still get that lift. Okay. Within your spine to be able to get the back erector spine actually working. That's usually what I suggest. If being flat on your stomach is not an option. Did I hear someone unmute themselves?
If you have a ball and so you're like kind of on a diagonal, would that defeat the purpose, or would that work?
A ball, like a yoga ball?
Yeah. Just like to be a little more like head above stomach.
Yeah, to get head above stomach, exactly. That's where balls are a little tricky because they're unstable. Okay. Right. So it will give you at least the top half. If you had a ball, typically you can ground your feet and at least get top half going, right? So you can get that motion if that's what we want to start with. If that is feeling like the best thing, what I would encourage you, it's me pretending I have a ball, getting your arms on the floor, still having the ball at your belly, lifting one leg at a time, right? So then you still have 3 surfaces to hopefully not tip over, and getting that back leg lifting up one at a time instead of both if your only option is a ball instead of some type of ottoman or cushion where you can move and kind of base yourself to get both.
Thank you.
Definitely go super slow with the ball though. I've done a lot of yoga ball stuff and it will just roll right away from you. So no setting that up if that feels like necessary for your spine. Most important things for those, realize we know that those two things are a lot of spine work. So exploring your depth and checking in with coach is really essential. That way, if we need to also think of another option for you that day because it's feeling unsafe, then that is what we need to figure out. But the goal is for us to find solutions and support by objects. I'm moving on to our steel sit-ups. What this is a full sit-up coming all the way down over our head, all the way up over our head. Your feet can dig underneath a couch, be an option. You can put weights underneath your feet. The goal for this is a full sit-up. What I encourage, and when I've done this in the past, is to give your coach a high five down by your knee. Goal to come all the way up, lift your spine up and off to come all the way up. If that is completely not working, or you want a little bit of grace in your spine, depending on where we're at, use your elbows if that feels okay. I quite literally dig my elbows into the ground, I push my hands on the floor, push myself up, and now I've come up and I gave some of that friction that was on my spine now onto my arms. Arms down, coming up. Okay. Of course, I want you to still work that muscle activation of being able to do it fully, but sometimes adding that additional surface can get us up so we get that full hinge, or decreasing to give us a sit up with that high five with your coach, which I'm totally that coach. I'd love to give you guys high fives in the middle of your workout. Okay. Donkey kicks, super swift. I know a few of us already saw my mod for this last month. Standing up is usually what I would suggest instead of down on the ground. You're typically in this quadruped position where our leg comes up and behind ourselves. Full action. Things I usually first check in on our fist. Sometimes changing that wrist orientation, like we talked earlier, can help with that static hold. What I was going to express, standing on our feet, holding a surface or a wall so that we were having something to give us stability. Key thing, bend in both of our knees. Now doing same action, but in a standing position. Still having a slight hinge, assuring that standing leg is bent. Avoid having it completely straight. It needs to be bent to protect the leg when you kick back. Okay, so again, really important because if I'm kicking back, I could be kicking back in my joints. Really make sure it's bent. Same exact action right there. Okay, just up in a standing position. From here, go back down to the floor. Oh, so close, guys. From here, we're gonna do rainbows. One of my favorite things. I talk about rainbows in our cool down, and we get to do rainbows to do abs. Full action, either holding a weight or no weight. Our abdominal walls engaged. We have a slight hinge in the back. Backwards is the goal. Tipping the arms from one side up and over the chest to the other side. So the difference between Russian twists, where we stay really tight, we're rainbows, so we're trying to bring our arms all the way up and over. Now, that being said, variations. Most important thing, spine is long. Avoid letting it be curved. Your own challenge. Are we sitting up here? Can you get yourself back here and still engage and do your rainbows? Or are we sitting up tall? Totally cool. Your own depth as well. Of course, we would love you to be able to touch the floor. Having any amount of twist and getting maybe to one side of your knee could be an option. Get to the other side of your knee. If you need even less of a twist, my goal would for you be to do swipes literally to your knee. You grab your own knee up and over, grab your other knee. What this does is it supports you in getting the hinge back, but you're grabbing onto your leg to decrease that motion while still having the dynamics within your abdominal wall. Okay, so
Coach Steph,
instead of, yes.
Is it an option to have like a wider, because having my arms like this is it squeezes in the middle and it's hard to breathe like that. Like, you know, I've got problems. So like, can I do a wider, like, is that the same
Completely.
thing? Okay.
It's definitely a thing. Again, the goal of the thing is quite literally shifting yourself to one side, getting to the other side. This is the movement. The rainbow is us having our arms extended, but that could be in any depth that makes sense to you. Great question. If your arms need to be more open, totally cool with that. But the goal is to get the twist and get yourself up and over to the other side. Now, my inspiration, again, of grabbing onto the leg to get that twist, just as another variation of notating that, is to be able to practice getting lower. So instead of keeping yourself sitting up high, doing your twist here, if you're trying to get yourself just a little lower, but you're having a lot of resistance, grab your own leg. Get the break, grab your own leg. Okay, so that would be my suggestion over like tapping your elbow all the way down or sitting completely up, because this is not an option for you today. Okay? My last one is boat. Such a good one, boat. So boat's this variation where in theory you can have knees bent, balancing up. The goal is to get yourself full extension. Full here. I have such a reaction. I had a yoga teacher that made me slap the floor for this to row your boat. Things that we're goaling on is balancing on that sacrum, getting your legs hovering off the ground, balancing not on your shoulders as well. Okay, these are the things that we're striving to have, or static hold is the realisticness for this. If you need to put the head down, static hold the leg. Bring yourself up, putting your your hands on the ground. Okay, lift their feet. Totally an option if you need to bring yourself up here. The difference of being up a little higher on your coccyx, on your hips, I would say, is where it rocks in your pelvis. Our goal would be to have you back here more. So I would say it would be more of a suggestion to try to lay yourself down and hover your legs off and hover your body off, then balancing up on your hips to give your back a little bit of a break. But those are little things that you can adjust as needed.
Can you hold your thighs, or does that defeat the purpose?
So these are the fun things, and I'm like, as a coach, no. But of course, holding your thighs is an option. I would almost, sometimes it's the only way I can do it because my legs will just start like jiggling. So giving myself a little extra point. The variable with that is gripping your hands or giving yourself information. Okay, so you're gripping your legs and you're holding them with your own arms, you're defeating the purpose. If you're like giving yourself little fingertips to like decrease as much as them trying to be pulled by gravity, that's just a little helpfulness, right? Totally understand. Typically you can't reach if you're all the way laid down with long limbs. But if we're up on the hips, totally give yourself a tiny bit of information there so that your shoulders can stay forward, opposed to putting them down on your side, right? Because the goal is to also have them up off the floor. Sometimes just getting some information is how the brain works. I am at time, guys. I did it. Sometimes it's so much material to cover in one time without repeating myself excessively, but wanting to make sure I'm super thorough in our purpose of this. See you later, Christian. If you have any additional questions, you can stick around. Obviously, coaches are always here to talk you through mods during the workout if there isn't something that matches, or if you had a moment that spaced this whole video. We'll also be sharing it. That's what my brain's trying to remember to say to you guys, is we are recording it this time, so you will be able to go back to this and re-listen to it, skip to the section. That's also why I tried to have the little logo at the top so you know which class I'm talking about. Yes, Ash?
Yeah, when I first tried to do the hollow with arm and leg up, as soon as I tried to pull both up and rock a little, right at the base of my back, it just screamed. Is that a sign of muscles just aren't there yet and it will get better? Or is that something like I really have to worry about and use one and plan on using one of the alternates for the entire month initially?
A little bit of both is usually how I react to that. Two variables. We didn't fully get into our warm up, right? We were just sporadically doing movement, so our bodies aren't completely ready for, by the time we get to that, it's gonna be later in the workout. The reality as well is that could be a thing that comes up every time. So producing a mod for the hollow rock, you said it was?
Yes.
Yeah. So it definitely could be a variable. I would say keep exploring for yourself. Explore how far your rock is. So again, I totally didn't know this on how that. If needed, though, it could be a variable of choosing another option. I'm realizing it's right at time. I'm going to show you a different one. But it is. I definitely would express doing it much smaller the first few times if that's what happens. If it happens every time, then yes, definitely produce a different option. But it's a very small amount of muscles. Like our entire body's working, but we're rolling on top of the tiniest muscle in our spine. So it definitely can spin that additional electricity through our body. Exploring your excessiveness of your rock is what I would suggest and what I was going to show. I don't need to actually rock my own spine to say that. I can use my hands.
Understood.
Okay.
Thanks.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
See you during the week.
Other things. See you in a week. Yeah, see you next week. Hope it's
All right, so there you go. That's how we get down in terms of modifications. Try to make this as comfortable and accessible for as many crits out there as possible. If you are looking for a space to work out with a bunch of gays that meet you where you're at and get it, then you should probably hit subscribe, like my shit, hit me up, do the thing, let's chat, and we'll go from there. All right, peace.